Seattle News Weekly from Fox 13.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Seattle News Weekly podcast. Good to have you here on this February, Thursday, the 26th. I sound like a broken record every week because I say, man, there's so much going on. We have so much to unpack. So we are going to talk about a number of things. We have reporter Franque Thompson joining me today. Franque, thank you so much.
Happy to be here, Hannah.
And one of the things that I really wanted Franque on the podcast was because she's been covering that terrible story out of near Gig Harbor where you have 4 people who are dead over there. And it sounds like a domestic violence situation, but it made national news. And so I want Franque, who's just really diving deeper into the story. So I want to get her take on it. And of course, another big story in Olympia is the millionaire income tax. That is by far the hottest contentious issue in this session. So there's a lot of things that happened this week. So we want to unpack that as well. And on a better note, though, the World Cup fan experience, Ethan McReynolds, our sports reporter, did a story on that to tell people about what kind of fun events that are going to be this summer. You know, if you don't have a ticket, you might want to go, right? Obviously, and enjoy it. So we're going to talk about that. So Franque, again, let's start off with what's going on over, again, the 4 people who are dead. We still don't know right now. Obviously, it's 11 o'clock on a Thursday. So a lot of information could be coming down the pipeline later today after we're done with this podcast. But what do we know right now on that? What happened here?
Yeah, obviously, as you mentioned, just a terrible, tragic situation out of Pierce County over there on the Key Peninsula. So we are getting our information piece by piece from the Pierce County Force Investigation Team. Tacoma Police Department is the lead agency, and they're being very careful putting out information because obviously so many people have been impacted by this. What we know, though, Tuesday morning, Pierce County deputies got a call about a reported protection order violation, and Pierce County deputies reviewed the protection order that was on file. It had not been issued yet by the judge. It was issued by the judge, but it was not served yet to the suspect.
Gotcha.
And so Pierce County deputies printed out a copy of that protection order, and then they were on their way to serve it to the suspect. While they were on their way, they got a call about an act of stabbing. So they made it to the scene. The crime scene, there are people in the street who have been stabbed. And since this was active, Pierce County deputies shot the suspect. The suspect ended up dying. Now this becomes a deputy-involved shooting on top of a deadly stabbing. 4 people were stabbed. 3 of them died on scene. A 4th person was rushed to the hospital. That person also died. So we now have 4 victims and a suspect who are dead from the situation.
So 5 people in all, because you're talking about 4 innocent people.
That's correct.
It's just so shocking to me, and I know that we don't have the identities yet, but we do know a lot of things because we know that that site was known to police in the sense that, or the courts maybe I should say, because there have been incidents tied to that house involving mental illness, domestic violence, a lot of court orders. I understand there was a temporary protection order even about a year ago. And you looked into court documents that said that there was a 52-year-old woman who lived in that house, and she was filing protection orders or trying to get protection from her own son, who she says was going through some, the mental illness that he was going through. It was escalating at that time. And that was a year ago. And I guess the question is, when you look at this tragic situation, this is not the first time we've had issues where someone has dealt with mental illness in our region, and then because maybe they didn't get the help, and no blame here, because I really don't know the details. We don't know all of the details yet to be pointing fingers at who did this and who didn't do enough. I want to stay away from that at this moment. But what is so tragic is that this mom was fearing for her life, and this is the result almost a year later.
That's right. And we should be clear that, again, investigators have not identified anyone. However, the court documents that we received from the Pierce County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, the exact same address is the exact same home of the crime scene. Yeah. The suspect is 32 years old. The son, according to those court documents, is also 32. Right. So it is, we can safely assume that these people are connected. But what was so shocking is that this mother, according to the court documents, has been filing protection orders for several years. The prosecuting attorney's office told us it dates back to the 2010s.
Wow.
That she has been trying to protect her home and her family from her son who had escalating mental health issues. It got to a point where this person had to move out of the house, and at one point it was, you can't be near the home 500 yards, 500 feet, and then it increased to 1,000 feet. And so reviewing the court documents really paints a picture of just how painful this fight for protection has been. We know that this mother has been, the records that we have date back to 2020. So from 2020, she has filed multiple domestic violence protection orders, which were granted. And she had to continue because they were temporary, but she continued filing these protection orders. And in each document, it seems that her fear grows. She's like, in her own words, we see her handwriting, I don't feel safe in my own house. His mental health is escalating. He has pushed me. He has shoved me. So we know that there's physical abuse now on top of just the verbal abuse that she was enduring from her son. And then it gets to a point where he is having auditory and command hallucinations. And he is saying, hey, I'm a god. You have to obey me. And it gets to a point where it now becomes more involved, where weapons are involved. You know, in one of the documents, we see the son, in this case, use a knife and threaten his sister's boyfriend, who was also visiting the house. So it gets to a point where enough is enough, and then this family is waiting on the latest protection order that was violated. And here we are to this tragic conclusion.
Right. It just goes to the bigger point of, does the state, and we've done so many countless stories on this, does the state have enough resources for people in that situation? Obviously, if he's having command, what did you call it? Hallucinations, which means what? That he's being told, he's being compelled to act a certain way, and that he's hearing voices. And a lot of the times when they get to that point, there's got to be some really strict resources out there for them, or strict a process that says, okay, this person needs to get help. Not almost, I don't want to say, involuntary, but there needs to be a system where there's got to be some mandated help for these people.
And we don't know the extent of the help that he was receiving.
Right.
However, I feel like at some point there should have been maybe some institutionalization. Maybe he stayed at a facility or a center to get some designated help. In the court documents that we received from the prosecutor's office, we do know that a judge put him on a medication. That was a court order that he received medication. Do we know if he was taking it?
Right.
We don't know. There's just so much we don't know about this person. However, I think with him being open and free in the community, maybe there's a step there that was missing. We don't know that information right now. There's so many things to unpack just about this one person, let alone so many other people that were involved and have now lost their lives.
As I mentioned at the top, that this made national news, understandably, because when you've got 4 people stabbed in the middle of the day outside, and I'm sure when I looked at the images and the videos that you guys captured out there, this is just a typical suburban looking neighborhood where homes are kind of close to each other. So that there may have been, I think, witnesses who may have seen this go down.
Yeah, this was in the middle of the morning. People are getting ready to take their kids to school, go to work, and this happened. There's screams, there's gunshots, there's sirens, there's so much, and people are witnessing this in real time. The neighbor that we spoke to wanted to keep her identity private because this is such a traumatic story, but she was telling us, this is an unknown neighborhood. People just, it's ignored because it's so safe. She feels so safe, so secure. It's quiet. It's tucked away in Pierce County. So a lot of the neighbors there as well are elderly, so we could have been talking about elderly people who were involved in all of this.
Maybe they went to try to help, or maybe they were trying to do something. Yeah, it's just the
Exactly.
whole thing is just so sad. Anything else that you think, when you went out there and you're covering this story? I know a lot of the times, you have a certain amount of time that you can tell a story in a typical newscast. So is there something that like you felt or you just want to know more about Frankie, about this story that you think
Yeah.
is important?
Absolutely. I think we need to hash out the details of the protection order. There was a protection order issued. It wasn't served. Why was it not served if we know that this is a repeat situation with this household? How long did it take to get that protection order from that initial call to the situation we resulted in, that stabbing? The protection order, the timing of it all, that is going to be a key part of the investigation, and it could answer a lot of questions. Families involved might take that a step further. We don't know, but that alone could have saved lives potentially. And it's just a tricky situation, learning about that, because again, the Pierce County Force Investigation Team is keeping details very close to the chest right now. So once we learn more about that, I think it'll give us a clearer picture of how the rest of the day unfolded.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack there. And I know that you will do it for us. All right, let's switch gears now to the big thing in Olympia, the millionaire income tax. And I know that, this is not something that you necessarily have covered throughout the session, but, it's something that you probably may have heard from people in your community or maybe people asking questions about. So first, I wanted to get people up to par on this issue. And reporter Lauren Donovan went to Olympia this week to get the latest on that. So let's run her story so people can listen in.
Our tax code is broken.
It's millionaires today, everyone else tomorrow.
Another packed house Tuesday in Olympia. Dozens showed up in person and online to give their 2 cents on the so-called millionaires tax. Their audience, the House Finance Committee, the tax experts of the legislature. Addressing them, big names like former Washington Attorney General Rob McKenna.
If this legislature wants a progressive income tax, it should send a constitutional amendment to the voters.
Also signed up to construction firms fearing rising costs, and Visit Seattle, worried this could cut back on the number of conventions hosted in the Emerald City.
While 23 other states are cutting taxes, Washington is raising them at record pace.
Tech company founders chimed in to say Washington has become bad for business, warning of a wealth exodus.
And they'll go elsewhere to keep what they've earned.
But we also heard from a couple self-identified millionaires backing 6346, like this one from Chelan County.
To my fellow millionaires, none of us built our wealth alone.
Many of those who showed were caregivers, school teachers, healthcare workers, saying money for essential services has just dried up.
Again and again, I watch patients struggle not with medical advice, but with affordability itself.
Arguing the billions of dollars this 9.9% tax could generate would go directly to those scraping by way of the working family's tax credit. The overwhelming majority of supporters stressing it's time for individuals and married couples making over $1 million a year to pay their fair share.
I hear that millionaires will leave if asked to pay more. Caregivers and vulnerable residents don't have the option to leave.
After hearing all of that, I wanted to hear from the people who actually wrote this thing. Clearly, it's a divisive issue. Are Democrats considering making any changes?
We expect the number of tax reductions in the bill to increase.
The reductions right now are at about somewhere between 18 and 20% of the revenue from the bill. And we've said consistently 25 to 40% is where we're hoping to get to.
Sounds like considerations for a sales tax holiday haven't been ruled out. But what does Republican leadership have to say about all that?
Look, the majority party doesn't line to face the music that this is unpopular across our state.
Reporting in Olympia, Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
So Frankie, you just heard kind of the pros and cons of this. And I think the bigger question for the middle income people and most Washingtonians, why so many people are listening to this, is there is an aspect of this that we know that this is against the state constitution. That's a fact. And so the Democrats, the majority party, they are expecting this to face legal challenges. They feel like they'll overcome it, and then the state constitution will be tweaked so that way they can put this income tax against the millionaires. But one of the questions that a lot of people have, and the concern is this going to trickle down to everybody else? Because once they open that door, that's what the concern is. And that is a valid question. And I say that because there was an amendment that Republicans wanted to put on there that said, okay, let's let's keep it at just millionaires then, okay? Let's put an amendment, bake it into the bill, and that was voted down by the majority party. And so that leaves that question open. Why was that left open? And is it eventually going to be filtered down to everybody in Washington? And the thing is that I think depending on who you ask, some people love that idea. Some people they want an income tax. They say, hey, our tax system is regressive. We need this. An income tax should be the case. And then other people are like, look, it's super unpopular. It's been voted down 11 times. Voters have voted on this over many years. They voted it down. So are you hearing from, people in your community, talking about this? Like, what do you think the biggest concern and questions that maybe people have that aren't being answered right now?
Yeah, I'm hearing both sides. Critics are arguing, there could be a broader tax down the road, and that would ultimately affect the people who are paying the most right now, and that's low-income families, because as you mentioned, this is a regressive tax system that we do have right now, and low-income earners feel like they're paying too much, and they're like, compared to higher earners, they're not paying their fair share. But there is that concern of what could happen years down the road should this pass. Is there going to be something broader? Is it still going to come back to those low income earners? And so there's still a lot of question about not necessarily, there's a lot of question about this bill in particular, but what I'm hearing is a bigger concern of what could happen in the years as people continue to pick apart and build ideas and expand this. And that could, really fall back on the people who are just trying to make it, pay their bills.
Yeah, it's just going to impact, right now it's a millionaire thing, but I guess what the question is, how is it going to impact really everybody? Is it going to impact everybody? So that's still the big question. I think, for people following along, you might know where it is, but just to recap, this has been talked about a lot over the whole session. This week, we're expecting a vote on Friday, and by next week, so Friday, they will talk about this issue again in committee, and they're going to most likely talk about it again in the full House next week. So it is moving along, and we have the session is almost wrapping up. So we only have just a couple of days. They got to move fast if they want to do this.
Exactly.
The main thing right now that they have to figure out, and I say the majority party because they really just have the power. The Republicans hate all of it, but they don't have really the power to write the budget right now. And what Democrats are doing right now is saying, okay, Governor Ferguson says he loves the millionaire tax, but he wants the money spent certain ways. He wanted it to go to the working family tax credit. He wants a lot of it, to things like that.
Services.
So they have to kind of agree on how they want to spend that money, because as of right now, even among the Democrats, there's a disagreement on how they want to spend those dollars. So we'll see where that goes. Just wanted to recap on that and let everybody know where that is.
Absolutely.
The last thing I want to talk about, of course, this is the fun story.
Yeah.
And I know you love fun stories because you're a fun person. World Cup coming to Seattle. Are you excited about that?
I am so excited. Just continuing that momentum and the energy from the Super Bowl championship. And then we've got Mariners now. And it seems like we're building to this world stage. So I'm excited. I'm excited for all of the visitors, all of the revenue that's coming in. Seattle is on this uphill right now. We're on a very positive trajectory. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. I'm looking forward to the games, the parties, the after parties.
Oh, the after parties.
It's going to be good for the city. Yeah.
Frankie's going to be at some after parties.
You will see me out there.
You better invite me. I'll be texting him like, where are you now, Frankie? Can I come to the after party? The party is here. Oh my God, you're so funny. So, all right. So this thing right here that Ethan did. So Ethan McReynolds and our digital staff wrote up this great piece, and I want to send everyone to this on our website. And the headline says, fan zone locations across Washington revealed for 2026 FIFA World Cup. So people want to go to the games, but obviously we know the tickets are expensive. It's so hard to get. So how can you still have fun? So we have this long list of all the cities all across Washington state that are hosting events, and they're hosting them from June 11th to July 19th, so you can get into the party. There's so much to do. I'm not going to get into everywhere, but I mean, there's like Bremerton and Bellingham and Olympia and Everett. All these places are hosting it. And, you know, the Seattle, obviously it's spearheaded by, you know, the FIFA World Cup doing this, officials helping with this, creating these little fan zones that they're calling it. So it's great. And they're doing it in 9 Washington cities. So I want to play, if we can, a portion of Ethan's story just so that people can get up to date on that.
If tickets for the World Cup are feeling a little too pricey right now, there are still ways to get involved in the experience for the biggest sporting event in the world. Various locations around the city will be hosting fan experiences open to the public and completely free of charge, including right here at Waterfront Park. Originally scheduled to take place just at Seattle Center, fan celebrations for the World Cup are now being expanded to also include Waterfront Park, Pacific Place, and Victory Hall. The events will be free and aim to reach a broader scope of fans who aren't able to attend any of the games at Lumen Field, and also help small businesses throughout the entire city.
We're going to have some things to eat, some things to watch, and some things to buy. This plan is bigger and better than what we had before. It's going to reach the same number of people, if not more, but we're going to have it in far more different locations. And what was really a big driving force for this was this allows small businesses, you know, a better chance to really enjoy what's going to happen over the summer of 2026.
Seattle's organizing committee chair, Peter Tomazawa, is expecting a huge turnout for not just the World Cup, but also the experiences around town, saying that he hopes it has the same electric feel to the Seahawks Super Bowl parade.
Downtown was lit up. It was fantastic. Every part of the city was activated, and gosh, if we could just come a little bit close to that, that would be amazing.
Alongside these fan experiences in the city, the organizing committee also announcing the specific locations for the 9 fan zones across the state. Some of the participating cities, including Bellingham, Vancouver, Everett, Tacoma, and Spokane.
It is designed so that we bring the event to the people, so you don't have to travel all the way to Seattle to experience the World Cup. But more importantly, it creates gathering places for people to come together. This whole tournament is about improving and betterment for the community. So we're really excited about how we've approached this, and so it's going to be great. Our intent is to leave a lasting legacy that will last decades beyond. So we're not just focusing on the summer of 2026.
Seattle's World Cup Organizing Committee is also planning to release an app. They're going to have information on all of the events they have planned throughout the entire city. For more information on all things World Cup, you can head over to our website, fox13seattle.com. From Seattle, Ethan McReynolds, Fox 13 Sports.
Yeah, so he was talking about, that's events in Seattle, but also all the events, the 9 zones that they were talking about. That was Peter Tomazawa who was in that piece, and I can sense the excitement from him talking about all of the things that they've been organizing, and it's almost here, Frankie. Yeah. And I think this is such a great idea because they understand that a lot of people won't be able to come into Seattle to watch the game. So it's a great way to help businesses, like he said.
For sure, and I think this just increases the inclusiveness of it all. You know, this is something that it's a unique opportunity for people to really celebrate the sport, but also celebrate, this huge event coming to Seattle
on a global stage. I mean, Seattle's gonna have to we have to be good.
And I mean, we have seen major events come through. I remember when the NHL Hockey All-Star Weekend was here, as well as the MLB All-Star, and that was huge. I was there at the events, at the parties, and Seattle did it right.
Okay.
But the fact that this is such a bigger event, I feel like the city will step up, the businesses will step up, and it helps that we have all of these other places where people can celebrate, can watch, and feel included in this, because not everyone's going to make it to Seattle. Not everyone wants to travel to Seattle, but they still want to feel part of it. And I'm sure that we're going to have people at some of these different places just watching all of the watch parties and the special fan zones, and really getting into it and showing that this is a regional event that's based in Seattle, but the whole, at least the whole state is going to be celebrating this.
Yeah, and Frankie is going to be partying. We know that for sure. All right, Frankie Thompson, thank you so much for, chatting with me today. I
Hannah,
really,
this was fun.
I really enjoyed all of your insight and everything, both the serious stories and also the FIFA World Cup. So thank you so much. And everyone, don't forget, new episodes of the Seattle News Weekly. It drops every Thursday. You can watch it, obviously, where you get your podcast, but you can also hear us in the Fox Local app. Make sure you download that. It's a great app. So until next time, have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Seattle News Weekly is available wherever you get your podcast.